The 736th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMASGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000.
Howdy ho, degenerate nerds. Welcome to episode 736 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to, Gabby Cara, who really appreciates our efforts. Just a quick off-topic question. My OKX wallet holds some USDT. So obviously a spam person. I don't even know what half the words mean.
Every single time I read one of those comments on our YouTube channel, at first I see the thing that says, "Thank you guys so much for putting in the effort," and I'm like, "Oh, cool, listener." And then there's a weird question about transferring crypto coins, and there's like a weird password in there. I'm blown away. Incredible.
You reel us Gumby in every time. So keep it up, people. Thanks for coming to the show. I am not Gumby. That was Gumby you just talked, aka the man on the left. I am Big for Nothing, Jeff Chalks Fox, and today is our second half of UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Ribas 2. Yesterday we did the 8 prelims. It was a team ride. It does happen on occasion. We link up, and I think it's one of the stats I do track. 62% of the time when we link up, we get it correct. So slightly better than if we were, well, definitely way better for Gumby if he links up with me, and slightly better for me, or around the same for me if I link up with Gumby. So take that for what it is. Check out yesterday's episode for all the prelims. Today we got 6 main card fights. And Hello is in the main event, Amanda Ribas, in a rematch. So she is back.
You know, that's one of our best watch shorts of all time.
Me doing that video?
So I think we have 2 shorts that are tippity top in terms of our view rate of all time. Number 1 is me talking about some Brazilian grandma.
The grandma video. Yeah.
That one got like 10,000 watches. And then I think second highest is you doing your Amanda Ribas impression.
Well, I just did it again.
Yeah, well, I think everybody should dig back because the OG one is way better. So dig back into our shorts. Go watch Jeff's Amanda Ribas impression from probably a year ago.
Yeah, she hasn't fought for a while, so I haven't got to pull it out for a while. She wants blood. I want the blood this time. So she says with a big smile and laugh on her face. So yeah, it's a rematch in the main event. We're not complaining though. It should be a fun fight.
And it's 5 years later. Rematch.
Exactly.
Yeah. I hate less.
Yeah. It's so that is the fight card we're covering. 7 o'clock start time, I believe, because 4 p.m. are the prelims. So I think this is going to be 7 Eastern from the UFC Apex on this Saturday night. And we're going to dive right into it after I remind you, as if you don't know, most of you probably are American. You probably know NFL playoffs are on. And NFL playoffs rule the world, especially if you're an American. And of course, we got you covered on the Mothership Sports Gambling Podcast. They're the kings of making picks against the spread, prop picks, all that good stuff on the NFL. So check out the Sports Gambling Podcast on YouTube, podcast catcher of choice. Check out our website, all that good stuff. All right. Okay. All right. Let's move on to, as I said, UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Ribas 2. And we're kicking things off with, we're just going to dive right into it. People don't want preamble. We're diving right into it. This is a welterweight bout. Punahele Soriano, you can call him Puna, versus Uros Medic. Soriano is from the States. Medic is from, I believe, Serbia. Oh, boy, that'll get me in trouble. He's from Serbia. 3 5-minute rounds. How much do they weigh? 170, right. Let's jump into it by telling you about Soriano first. Puna, as I said, this is his nickname, 10-4. 6 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 4-4 in the UFC. He's 1-2 over his last 3, 2-4 over his last 6. Consistent. Did win his last fight. Probably saved his UFC job with that one. 1-0 Contender Series. He's fight at heavyweight and middleweight. An inch of reach over Medic. Better grappling stats than Medic. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 1.01 strikes per minute. UFC and Contender Series. He's at plus 170. Medic is the doctor, which would be funnier if his name was pronounced Medic and not Medic, but nonetheless. No, he's not really a doctor, is he?
No,
sometimes these people,
the ones that are nah.
Yeah. He's making fun of how us North Americans probably say his name more often than not, right?
Correct, I believe so.
Medic. Anyhow, he's Medic. He is the good doctor is 10-2. 8 knockouts, 2 submissions. So he's finished everyone, and he's been submitted twice. So he owes his rounds. Damn it. 4-2 in the UFC. 3-1 over his last 4. Won his last fight via TKO. 1-0 Contender Series. He's fought at lightweight and middleweight. 2 inches of height over Soriano. Better striking stats. More active fighting strikes. He's outstruck his opponents by 2.33 strikes per minute. Minus 194. I kick off the main card usually. Give me the doctor here. Don't have much faith in Soriano at this point, even though he did win his last fight and save his career. I think Medic is a better striker in what is going to be a striking battle. So give me the doctor.
Why do you feel like it's going to be a striking battle?
You think it might be grappling? I don't think a Soriano is a grappler, but
Soriano moved down to 170 pounds in his last fight, shot 6 takedowns, hit 5.
Well, there you go. I'm thinking of the old one, obviously. So you're taking Soriano, are you?
I'm taking Soriano. I think this is a sleepy good underdog spot in this one.
Okay.
He went from being a guy at 185 pounds, mostly forced to strike because, he fought Brendan Allen, he fought this guy, he fought that guy, and all guys who kind of forced him to strike. And even if he did want to grapple, he was kind of undersized in those divisions. And then you moved him down. And granted, he got Miguel Baeza in his debut, which is like, maybe a little bit of an ease into it. But he shot takedowns and he hit him. And his takedowns looked really good. He looked very physical on top. And what are we talking about being the weakness of Uros Medic? I mean, like his only loss recently was to a lightweight who bodied him. Miktabek Oralbai took a fight on 4 days' notice as a lightweight, went up in weight and absolutely bodied him up there with takedowns. Like, even Jalen Turner took him down and beat him up. Also a lightweight, right? So like we're talking about Uros Medic being kind of bodied by lighter weight guys. Now he's going to get a guy who's used to dealing with middleweights, who's dealt with middleweights and is clearly trying to reinvent himself as a grappler, clearly taking himself down that path. And to be fair, if you want to go back to when he was on the regional scene, he made a lot of his bread that way. Like he took people down. He had a couple of chokes on the regional scene. Like this is a guy who had a really good game plan in terms of the grappling and then just kind of ran into being the smaller guy in a lot of middleweight fights. Not the smaller guy anymore. In fact, probably going to be much more strong than Medic here. I really like him as a kind of a sneaky play this weekend. Give me Punahele Soriano.
All right. We shall see if that was a one fight blip when he's grappler or if he's back to grappling, because he hadn't landed a takedown in the 6 fights before that. So
all of which were at middleweight.
Yep. No, very good point. True. We shall see. There you go. That's our first disagreement on the fight card. See if we're going to go into our second here. A featherweight bout, Austin Bashi, Christian Rodriguez, both Americans. Rod, that'll be Rodriguez. He's 11-2, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been submitted once, 4-2 in the UFC, 4-1 over his last 5. He got submitted in his last bout. Used to fight at bantamweight. He missed weight 3 times at bantamweight. So now he is up at featherweight. Not the best reason to move up, but
I think this one was mandatory.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that it's not the circumstances you want. You want to move up on your own volition, not because you're forced. Yeah, 1-0 Contender Series, 1-0 Bellator, an inch of height, an inch of reach over Bashi. More active landing strikes than Bashi or Bashi. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 1.09 strikes per minute, plus 225. Bashi, 13-0, 3 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's making his debut here. 1-0 Contender Series, 5 straight wins via finish. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Get sticky with it. Or get some kind of crypto thing. I'll have to come up with some crypto thing. That's the new spam. I don't know all those words, though. Used to fight at bantamweight. 4 years younger than Rodriguez. Better grappling stats than Rodriguez. This is based off of one fight. He also struck his opponent on Contender Series by 0.37 strikes per minute. He's at minus 265. So the heavyweight weight limit. This is Gumby's turn.
I'm going to go dog again. I'm going to take C-Rod.
Guess who else is taking C-Rod?
I knew you were going to
talk me out of it, but you're not.
No, he beat up Cameron Simon for us. We have to.
I kind of have a thing for him. I think.
Yeah.
Not as you know what I'm saying.
I will also say too, and this isn't like a pure fade of Bashi, but it's like I don't think of Bashi as being the same level of prospect I think a lot of people are. You know, I know he's good. I know he's got a lot of potential. He's very young. I just am not sold on that he's got there yet. And like, I really thought we were going to find out on Contender Series, like, oh, is this guy a pretender or is this guy for real, when he was supposed to fight Tommy McMillan. Tommy McMillan, super good striking prospect out of Sean O'Malley's camp. you know, it was going to be a sick fight. And instead he fought a dude on short notice who didn't have great takedown defense. And it's like, I've seen him fight dudes on short notice who don't have great takedown defense. That's like most of his regional career, right?
Yeah.
And so like I didn't get to see that out of him. And I still kind of wonder what happens when this guy suffers. What happens when this guy doesn't get that submission earlier, doesn't have the advantage on the feet? Because he's actually had the advantage on the feet in a lot of fights. I don't think that's true here. And yeah, am I a little bit worried that C-Rod going up in weight class isn't good for him? Yeah, but maybe it also just like makes him not worried about holding back early in fights, because you've kind of seen him maybe not unleash everything early in fights and then start to let go later. And I don't think that's going to be a problem here. I think he's going to light him up on the feet. I think he's not going to be terribly worried about his cardio. I think he stuffs a lot of the takedowns, or at the very least gets back up. I will tell you that some of this is me really loving the line too, because, you know, this was, if you look back like 2 weeks, like negative 150 to plus 130. He's all the way up into the plus 200. What'd you quote us on here today?
225.
225. Wouldn't be surprised if he was 250 by fight time. Like if you like this line too, just sit on it for a second. It's probably coming up again. And so I'll take C-Rod. I think he spoils the third different prospect that the UFC is big on.
We're fading the public, Gumby.
We are. That's okay. I don't think about what the public does in any way, shape, or form.
No, you don't care. And we're fading the public. But that's good. I'm glad Gumby is on the same side as I am in this one. I guess that's a good thing. More than likely. All right. Before we dive into the next fight, let me tell you about DraftKings. We're playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. We sure are. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. But it's not just NFL. Obviously, they got the UFC, they got MMA, they've got UFC futures. All the lines are at the DraftKings Sportsbook and on their app. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SGP. That's code SGP for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Go ahead.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Thank you, sir. He called us Ontarianians void, though, which I don't approve of, but nonetheless, void in Ontario. All right, so we're in on the same dog. That's good to see on Rodriguez. Let's move on to the next fight, shall we? It is a middleweight bout. Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov, U.S. versus Russia. The classic Cold War battle. Tell you about the American first, the action man, Chris Curtis. If you want to know where that nickname came from, probably not what you would think it came from. Go into the Top Turtle archives and hear when he was on Gumby's other podcast. The action man is 31-11 with 1 no contest, 17 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, submitted once, 5-3 with 1 no contest in the UFC, 1-2 with 1 no contest over his last 4. He lost his last fight. Used to fight down at welterweight, up at light heavyweight. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. 1-3 in the PFL, 1-0 on Contender Series, 2009 Pro MMA debut, 2-0 as a pro boxer, more active landing strikes than Kopylov. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.4 strikes per minute. He's at plus 210. Kopylov, 13-3 with 11 knockouts. He's been submitted twice, 5-3 in the UFC, 5-1 over his last 6. He did win his last fight. He also has multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Use fight at bantamweight. Not you didn't use fight at bantamweight. Use fight at light heavyweight. Bantamweight would be a stretch. I guess when he's a child, perhaps. 2 inches of height over Curtis, 4 years younger, better striking stats, better grappling stats. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 0.27 strikes per minute, minus 250. Give me Kopylov. Curtis is past his sell before a date, in at least in my eyes here. Going to be a striking battle, and I think I like Kopylov better on the feet at this point in the career. So give me the Russian.
So I'm going to agree with you and disagree with you again. So again,
Okay.
I'm going to agree with you on the pick. I like Kopylov. I'm not going to say Chris Curtis is done. I really believe Chris Curtis has still got a lot left in the tank. I still think he'd beat a lot of guys. I think this is a miserable style matchup for him. Chris Curtis has kind of turned into a guy where he like frustrates you by being a volume striker, but like staying out of range and being really smart defensively. Look at what he did to Rodolfo Vieira, just staying away from the grappling, poking him a couple of times, getting out of range, not engaging a lot. And like, that's a game plan that can win you a lot of fights, right? I mean, it damn near won Sean Strickland a title. That's great but like in this instance, let's say he lands 50 punches in the first round and Kopylov lands 2 of those kicks to the body.
Yeah.
Those judges are going to give it a Kopylov.
Yeah.
Because those 2 kicks to the body are going to be wildly memorable. That's kind of the way I see the whole fight going, is that like everything Curtis lands, he's going to get hit with something that is twice as hard and like 3 times as flashy, right? And so like I think ultimately that plays off for Kopylov, and that's if Kopylov doesn't find the chin. The guy hits so freaking hard. It would not surprise me to see a KO here. So yeah, I also like Kopylov in this fight.
It's almost as if Curtis used to train with Sean Strickland, right?
He's got a lot of Sean Strickland's tendencies
he
now.
Does have a lot of. I think they broke up though, right?
I think they still train together.
Okay. Well, there you go. That explains the fighting style. All right, we're sticking with middleweights. Abdul Razak Alhassan. He's from Ghana, I believe. Am I right there? Yes, from Ghana. He is up against not Carlston here. Cesar Almeida from Brazil. 3.5-minute rounds. We're going to tell you about Mokem. I really want to talk about Harris, don't I? I'm going to tell you about Judo Thunder, one of the best nicknames around. Alhassan, 12-6 with one no contest. Yep, he's knocked out 12 people. All of his wins via knockout. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 6-6 with one no contest in the UFC. 1-1 with one no contest over his last 3 no contests was his last bout. 2-5 with one no contest over his last 8. So not a really great stretch there. Used to fight at welterweight, missed weight twice there. 2-0 in Bellator, 2013 pro MMA debut. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.35 strikes per minute. He's at plus 225. Sasina, Little Caesar is 6-1 with 4 knockouts. Never been finished in a fight. 2-1 in the UFC. Did win his last fight. He's 1-0 in Contender Series. 47-8-1 with one no contest in kickboxing and a multi-time champion there. 3 inches height, an inch of reach over Alhassan. 3 years younger. Better striking stats, better, more active when he strikes as well. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 1.94 strikes per minute. He's at minus 270.
Beat Alex Pereira in kickboxing. Fun fact.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm going Almeida. I know that Alhassan I've kind of seen on the docket as being like a popular underdog pick for a lot of people. I think the problem for me is like this is going to be a fight where it feels like Alhassan would win a firefight between these two, and it would win if he could get a grappling going, but he never shoots the takedowns that his Judo Thunder name seems to entice. And I don't think he can trick Cesar Almeida into fighting stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he can get him to brawl with him. I think he's just going to be too technical. And when Alhassan starts to get, maybe a little bit overzealous or maybe a little bit frustrated, I think you're going to see Almeida crack him on counters. I mean, like we saw, it wasn't a very long fight, but we saw that Alhassan's chin can get hit. Chaos Williams hit it. Chaos Williams is a 170 pounder who doesn't hit nearly as hard as Cesar Almeida does. So like, I think the chances of Alhassan getting frustrated and not being able to get Almeida to brawl will ultimately wind up him being in bad positions and Almeida cracking him.
Yep, I like the more technical striker here in a striking battle. So Almeida was my pick as well. So we are linked up once again. Little Caesar is our pick. All right, now we're to the co-main event. 170-pound fight. Santiago Ponzinibbio from Argentina. Carlston Harris from Guyana. 3 5-minute rounds. I'm going to tell you about Harris first. Mozambique is 19-6, 5 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times. 4-2 in the UFC, 2-1 over his last 3, 7-2 over his last 9. He got knocked out in his last fight. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingplugins.com/store. 2011 pro MMA debut. 3 inches of reach over Ponzinibbio. He's outstruck his opponents by 0.52 strikes per minute. He's at plus 115. The Argentine dagger, Urgente Boa. Good people. It translates to. He's 29-8. That would be Ponzinibbio. 16 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been knocked out 4 times. 11-7 in the UFC. He's 0-2 over his last 2. 1-4 over his last 5. He's not won since December 2022. He went 4-0 in the Ultimate Fighter. Who do you lose to? He lost in the final, I take it. To who? Do you remember?
Because it was the Ultimate Fighter Latin America. I'm unfortunately going to not know that one because I don't typically watch those seasons.
I forgot that is your one blind spot in the Ultimate Fighter. Is the Latin America one. So
that's right.
He's biased against the Latin America toughs. 2008 Pro MMA debut, more active landing strikes than Harris. Has outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 0.19 strikes per minute. He's at -125. My turn to pick first, right? I think.
That's right.
All right. This is one that I think we're going to disagree on, Gumby. I think we're right. I'm taking Mozambique. You always pick Ponzinibbio. I'm picking Carlston Harris here. Don't have much faith in Ponzinibbio. Even though Harris did get knocked out in his last fight, I still have more faith in him at this point than Ponzinibbio. I think he's got more left in the tank. Pons just does not win fights anymore. Harris is just as good on the feet, not as much power on the feet. I think he's a better grappler here. So I think he's worthy of a sprinkle on dog money. So give me Carlston Harris.
He is a better grappler, but we're back in the avenue of like, why doesn't he? You know what I mean? Like, what do you? I mean, yeah, he submitted Wells, right? Jeremiah Wells, but only after Wells had exhausted himself and Wells shot the takedown. You know, like it's not like he's going out there searching for those things. And like, if you watch a lot of his striking, particularly in his last fight, he overextends himself so badly. And, you know, ditto, like on the other side, is I think if you watch Ponzinibbio in his last fight, he stays really smartly composed, despite the fact that he's standing across from Muslim Salikov, a guy who throws some pretty wacky stuff your way. So, you know, I think Ponzinibbio has shown that despite, I think we've written him off 10 times by now, right? Mm-hmm. Like we've already had this guy's funeral, for Christ's sakes. Like I think he is still kicking around a lot better, and they keep giving him these matchups that he can kind of win, which are like, you know, making sure to stay out of the range of Muslim Salikov's crazy kung fu, and now just trying to find a time to capitalize on Carlston Harris overthrowing. And I think he's going to do that. So give me Santiago Ponzinibbio in this one.
I knew you had a thing for him. All right. You haven't learned your lesson yet. Take the Pons. All right. Before we get to the main event, I took a dog, and I'm going to tell you about Underdog Fantasy. That's the only reason I took the dog. Underdog Pick'em is one of the biggest menus for all sports. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boosts and gimme pick'ems. Underdog Playoff Best Ball is now live. The Gauntlet Tournament has $2 million in prizes up for grabs for just a $25 entry. NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. And you can now use specials to boost in all flex entries. Gumby, do you have another play with a football player with a funny name for us, or what?
No, I'm going to keep it real simple with both the name and the play. Another Saturday game coming to you. We've got the Ravens playing, and of course, I'm going to take Derrick Henry's higher than on his rushing yards. They only got it at 97.5. I think this guy can easily be penciled in for a 100-yard game. So give me Derrick Henry's higher than on his rushing yards.
The most boring of all names. So you've reverted to that. Son, here's the important part. This isn't boring. Use our code MMASGPN. It helps us and it helps you because when you use that code, you get a special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. I feel bad we haven't talked about Al Horford for a while. So Al Horford, how about that Al Horford guy?
Higher than on his 3-point made.
There you go. Okay. Main event is a rematch. Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. Part 2, 5-5-minute rounds at strawweight 115. Tell you about Dern first. 14-5 with 7 submissions. Another one, only submissions. She's been knocked out once. 9-5 in the UFC. 1-2 over her last 3. 3-4 over her last 7. She did win her last fight. She missed weight 3 times in the past. Now she's like mega ripped somehow after having a kid. Lost to Ribas. That was back in October of 2019. She lost by decision. Used to fight up at 125. She's a BJJ world champion. She's got an inch of height over Ribas. She's been outstruck by 0.69 strikes per minute, plus 170. I won't do the joke there because it's in play. We're talking about a lady here. Ribas, 13-5, 4 knockouts, 4 submissions. She's been knocked out 3 times. 7-4 in the UFC. Loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Used to fight at 125. She's been bouncing around. I like her much better at strawweight, assuming it's not destroying her to cut. Multiple regional championships on her.
Mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingplugs.com/store. 2014 Pro MMA debut. 3 inches of reach over Dern. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes, and better grappling stats. So she's got them all there. She's outstruck her opponents by 1.23 strikes per minute, and she's at -198. Gummy gets to finish off the main card picks first.
Yeah, I'm going with Ribas. I've always been a Mackenzie Dern fan, but like the bottom line is, it seems like her ceiling is when she's up against somebody who can out physical her. Yan Xiaonan, Jessica Andrade, Amanda Lemos, like any of those women who can sort of body her and force her to strike. She's not winning those fights. And that's kind of been her ceiling. We've always kind of wondered, would her striking round out? And, it's a lot better than the first time she fought Ribas, but it's just still not there for me. And for me, I hated Amanda Ribas up at flyweight, because like basically her best skill is that she can body people, is that she can bully people. And when that's what you're really good at, and then you go up a weight class, you're slightly less good at it, right? And that ultimately cost her, like a big chunk of her career. I love that she's coming back here. This is the right person to come back against, somebody whose inherent flaw is your strength at that weight class. I think she's going to pick apart Mackenzie Dern on the feet. And I think, Dern is probably going to have her moments where maybe she scores a takedown or maybe she gets into a good position. But you got to remember, Amanda Ribas, pretty good with her submission defense. I think she stays out of trouble and winds up winning the decision here.
Yeah, Ribas is the pick. Physicality, obviously, is the key. Way better on the feet, too. Like, Dern still hasn't got this. She's game and she's willing to, eat punches, but yeah, she's still not the greatest striker. But more importantly, she's not a very good wrestler still. Ribas has very good takedown defense as well. So Ribas basically can have this fight. This fight can go anywhere she wants it to go or stay wherever she wants it to stay. And she pieced up Dern on the feet in the first encounter. I don't see why it would change at all in this one. And I like her better at strawweight as well. So Ribas is the pick for me also. So don't like the line quite this high, but I think it's actually come down a little bit since I think
it kicked into the twos for a little bit. It was like high to mid ones early on, which that's probably where I would feel like where I would jump at it. Here. I don't think it's a bad line, but like I don't feel super strongly about it at negative 200. And then when it's in the 220s, 230s, I probably just stay off it.
Yeah. All right, recap, and we'll get you our bonus, or not our bonus picks, our fancy plays at the end. Both have Ribas. He has Ponzinibbio, have Harris. Both have Almeida. We both have Kopylov after I actually type it in here. We both have Rodriguez. He has Soriano. I have Medic. All right, locks, dogs, props, and Hungry Man Jong super fan something. Could be parlay, could be a round robin.
Super fan something.
You want to go? You can go first.
Yeah, let me kick off the new year because I think most of my plays are going to wind up being similar to yours in terms of our locks and our dogs. Maybe not our prop.
Really?
Yeah, I think our lock and dog are going to be the same. Tell me if I'm wrong. Jose Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I knew you were going to take him. I had a feeling that you were going to like. And bottom line for me is, again, this is sort of a fate of Felipe Bunes. And also, I really like Jose Johnson down at flyweight. So, Jose Johnson, the lock for both of us. Tell me if I'm wrong on the dog. I, as well as you, like Trey Ogden in this spot. Yeah. Like Trey Ogden's. I think people sleep on the ability to dictate where the fight takes place, and I think that could be really big here against Thiago Moises. So that's my dog. I don't think we're going to link up on props. I'd be surprised if we were.
It's very hard to do that. Yeah,
I'm going to take Gaziazulev inside the distance.
Okay.
I originally was going to get nitpicky and try to go KO or sub, but he's done a little bit of everything if you watch all the way back to his regional career, and then fighting Potiera. It might just be too tempting to knock the guy out to actually go to his sub game. So I decided just inside the distance, and you can still get plus 120 on him inside the distance. So,
nice.
Not a bad number there. So I'm going to take Gaziazulev inside the distance plus $120.
I am getting a bad number of mine. Fatima Klein via decision plus minus 160. Get kind of chalky, but I see that's the way it's going to happen. And it gets your line actually down from minus 770. She's not really a finisher. I don't think she's going to finish Dudikova, so I'll take her via decision. So
I disagree.
You're
going to hear about why in a second.
All right. We both have Johnson. We both have Ogden as our locks and dogs. He's got Godzi inside the distance. I've got Klein via decision. Now Gummy's going to contradict me here with the Hungry Man Jong super fan something.
Yeah, I'm going to go Superman fan round robin to start off the year. I saw too many props I really liked on this card. Maybe I'll chill it out in a little bit. But again, I like to construct these big odds round robins. All you need to do is hit 2 to profit. If you hit 3, big profits. 4, huge profits. If you hit all 5, unheard of profits. So you're going to make sure Let's hit a couple of these. So I'm going to start with a pair of knockouts, and then I'm going to round it out with some submissions. So the knockouts I like Ernesta Carricates here to score a knockout. I know it's lighter weight women. We don't typically see a ton of knockouts there, but Cagliari backs right up against the cage. I could really see a standing TKO here from Carricate, and she showed she's willing to let him go in that fight with Carly Giudice. So you're getting plus 475 for her on a knockout prop. I also like Roman Kopylov to hit a knockout. I mentioned before, I think he could probably touch Chris Curtis's chin. Wouldn't be surprised if a body kick did the damage. Plus 450 on the Kopylov KO. And then I'm going to round it out with 3 submissions. I've got 3 submission props I like. The first one, you mentioned it, Fatima Klein. Look, I do realize that she hasn't finished a lot of people there. Dudakova has looked really bad on her back, and I have to imagine after losing for the first time ever, Klein is going to come in here on a mission looking for a finish. So I like the chance that she's going to have like 12 plus minutes on the mat to find somebody's neck. And her grappling chops are top notch. So you're going to get plus 325 for her on submission. Second one, a little bit bigger. I like Jose Johnson by sub. I know we picked him as our lock of the week too. I think people sleep on how good he is on the ground. He's actually won 2 of his last 4 fights by submission, and he's 5-1 right now to win by submission. So that's another one I like. And the last one, this is the absolute whale that people are going to call me crazy for taking. I'm going to take Puna Soriano by submission. Hear me out here. The guy has committed himself to working on the ground. He's essentially 2 weight classes bigger than the guy he's fighting. And the guy he's fighting has been submitted 3 times. Now, it's been a long time since we've seen a Puna Soriano submission, right? But he does have them back in his regional scene. And he's now at a weight class where it would seem like that is way more possible and way more in his wheelhouse. So I'm going to take Puna Soriano by submission at 18-1, which it seems like an insane number, but I can draw a path to this guy getting a submission. So once again, those are Carricate KO, Kopylov KO, Klein submission, Johnson submission, Soriano submission. Whatever you choose to bet on this, it comes out to you get 1,230 times your money if all 5 of them hit. And as I mentioned before, you're only going to need 2 to break even. So that is the Hungry Man Jong round robin of the week.
All right, there you go. Carricate, Kopylov, Klein, Johnson, Soriano. First 2, so I should do it properly. Carricate knockout, Kopylov knockout, Klein submission, Johnson submission, Soriano submission. There you go. Take it. All right, we're done, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in your ears again in your eye holes on Sunday. In the meantime, Discord. That's what I forgot to say last time. That's what got me out of order. Check out us in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Check us out on the YouTube MMA Gambling Podcast. Check us out on the Twitter X, SGPN MMA. He's Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer there and on Instagram. Check out my Substack and enter my Pick'em contest and win. You can win for free at moneymma.substack.com. Check out more of Gumby. Top Turtle MMA Podcast is back. He's got the Lobo Solitario, Jose Johnson on it, and I am blanking on who the second person is.
Forgot to back Yokubov.
Right. The name, I wouldn't have said his name anyhow. So check that out. And of course, we're at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Gumby, bid the people farewell.
All right, I'm Danny Gumby Vreeland. He's El Lobo Solitario, Jeff Fox, and we will see you on Sunday.